And we have Rico Hizon of CNN Philippines.
Hello, Mr. President.
Hi, Rico.
Rico Hizon, CNN Philippines. Tinanong niya yata lahat ng mga tanong na gusto kong tanungin ng aking mga fellow anchors.
I'm sure na maiisip ka.
Mr. President, I have been an OFW for 25 years. Hong Kong, London, and Singapore. And having worked with two global news organizations, I've been exposed to the best practices of various governments in the region and around the world. Good governance, transparency, and accountability. The Filipino people really want to know, from your 8 overseas trips in the last 7 months, how much have you spent per trip? Indonesia, Singapore, when you went to Europe, to China, and here in Davos, and the number of people in your official and unofficial entourage list. Para lang klaro po sa ating mamamayang Pilipino.
Well, I don't have the figures. I'm sure their figures are somewhere. But
Pero will it eventually be revealed, Mr. President,
well,
for the Filipino
I think,
people?
Once we've calculated everything, because this last trip, of course, was just we just finished during the weekend, and we came back on Saturday. So on terms of the cost, the way I see it, you have to look at it as ROI. Do we bring something back or do we not? If you say, I don't know, as I said, I don't know the exact figures of the costs and everything. But for example, we came back from China with pledges of 22 billion. Let's say we get actual out of that 1 billion. Bawing-bawi lahat ng 8 trips. Finished. That's the idea. And we did not only go to China. We went to Davos. We went to the EU. We went to ASEAN. We went to APEC. So in each of those, many pledges were signed. And as I said, it is up to us. Now, the measure of success will be, the cost benefit, very simple. How much effort did you put into it? It's not just the money. It's the time that you put into it. It's the time and the effort that goes into it is really. That's what I was trying to explain earlier. The reason that we have everyone on the delegation. Actually, the official delegation is just myself and the cabinet ministers. Then they have staff. So the rest are security. And the others that have been accompanying me are actually private sector. They don't actually fly with me. They go there on their own. Although they are included in our meetings, and they have their own meetings on the sidelines as well. So again, the way I approach it is ROI. How much did you spend? How much did you get? And again, as I'm saying, if we get just one of the MOUs, isa lang. Napakahina naman natin if isa lang ang makuha natin. Hindi namin ginagawa trabaho namin kung yun lang isa lang makuha natin. But sabihin na lang natin, isa lang ang makuha natin. Bawi na lahat ng trip ko.
Pero Mr. President, sinasabi rin ng mga kritiko that no matter how the government tries to invite investors to the country, but if there's a lack of transparency, accountability, the country does not really invite confidence.
I fully agree. So we will have transparency.
Ililista ba ninyo yung gastos, Mr. President?
So there will be accountability and transparency in everything that we do. That's axiomatic. Who's going to argue with that? That is one of that. But it has not been an issue that the private businesses bring up. They bring up ease of doing business. They bring up the cost of energy. They bring up the problems of legislative guarantees. Ang legislative, lalo na sa PPPs, legislative guarantees, ibig sabihin na sa gitna ng project nila, papalitan yung batas, hindi nakikita yung project nila, pero pilit pa rin silang tapusin. Yun, yung mga nangyayari daw. Yan ang mga sabi nila, yan ang rinireklamo nila sa Pilipinas. So the critics will have their say. But those who are actually contemplating putting good money into the Philippines have other issues. That is not, accountability and transparency is not an issue.
Mr. President, you talk about the ease of doing business. You talk about power rates, which is one of the highest in Asia.
Not anymore. Not anymore. No, Europe is the same now as us.
But what are your plans during your administration to bring this down together with the private sector? Because that is one of the issues that is being raised by many investors around the world.
No, before, medyo number 2 na lang ngayon. Dati number 1 talaga.
Kasi hindi lang itong administration na ito. Even the past administrations have always been promising. Let's improve the ease of doing business, the bureaucracy.
The bureaucracy has to be streamlined. The ease of doing business is because we're talking about trade. So the digitalization is going to be a very important part of that. We have to digitalize customs. We have to digitalize all of these collecting agencies so that the BIR, even the central bank, the payments can be made over the internet. All of those things that we don't do now. We have to remove the discretion. It's just kung gawin, the thing is to lahat ng kahit wala kang kausap na tao, nagagawa mo yung kailangan mo. Makuha mo yung lisensya mo, makuha mo yung permit mo, makapagbayad ka nung whatever it is, ng fee, whatever it is to get your papers, whatever it is. So we came up against a very disturbing finding here in the Philippines. The ordinary Filipinos who have connectivity talk to every aspect of their lives through the internet, to the school of the children, to their business, to their friends. And the only entity that they do not talk to over the internet is the government, because the government is not digitalized. So let's digitalize the government, and that will take us a long way to helping in the ease of doing business. Now, the problem of energy is a very major one. It is a very major one because at the bottom of it is simple. The supply of power, the demand for power far exceeds the supply that we are producing. And there's also a problem in distribution, which is why the prices are so high. That has to be fixed also. But in the long term, once we fix what we can at home, in the long term, and that is one of the things that we will talk about a great deal on these trips, is bringing new power plants into the Philippines. And of course, we are stressing on renewables because we're trying to improve the mix of power generation between traditional and renewables. So that is, but that's a long term. Anything anything this government starts, we will not see the end. Ang nuclear power plant, 6 years, 7 years. Ang floating wind turbine, 6 years, 7 years, ganun din. Anything is 6 years, 7 years. But we have to start. So that's what we're planning to do. We will start.
Isang tanong na lang, baka kasi hindi na ako makakatanong eh. Mr. President, ang ating utang, 13.6 trillion pesos, ang taas-taas. And our debt-to-service ratio is more than 60%. Paano natin po ipababa ito?
I'm sorry, that's why, that's growth. We will pull ourselves out of debt via growth. That really is the guiding principle to the economic plan.
And through investments and the pledges that you will be focusing on.
Well, yes, make them real so that growth continues to pull us out and then provide new jobs. Now we're very proud that we're at 4.2% unemployment rate, which is like, you cannot have a recession if your employment rate's that low. But despite that, we still have to make the jobs more higher quality. We have to make them better. These green jobs, which is what we're talking about, and even the new technologies that are going to be used for our OFWs, all of these things, the upskilling, the reskilling, that's all we talk about. That's all, because those are the things that we need to do. It's not one simple thing. There is no silver bullet. We have to do very many things to make it right. Because what we are in fact doing is restructuring the entire Philippine economy to adjust to the new world global economy.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks, Rico.
Thank you, Rico, for the many questions.